Hello, welcome to HITC Sport. Alright, the January transfer window usually serves up some absolutely weird deals, transfers that nobody would ever predict. So right, let's go across Europe and look at the strangest, the weirdest, the most unpredictable deals that happened this month. Right, let's go. Andy King to OH Leuven. I'm sorry, but there's not a man, woman or dog alive on this planet who ever predicted Leicester stalwart Andy King to wind up at the backrest of Belgium on a permanent deal. I'm surprised that anyone in that country even had a clue who he was. Half the lads at OH Leuven probably assumed he was some Game of Thrones character. Leicester City have been paying this man's wages since 2004, so I'd assume when they released him in June, he just packed it in and just clinked toilets down his local Costa Coffee. No, he's now an OH Leuven player, although to be fair, the chairman is top shriven in Aberpa, so I guess King is still in the Leicester family, but still, what a bizarre move for everyone concerned. Amad Diallo to Man United. Okay, to be fair, this was agreed in the summer, but still, this is one of the most unknown transfers in the list. Man United fans don't have a clue whether or not they should be excited. This guy has the potential to be an almost £40 million signing from Atalanta, based on just 4 games of football in his life. It's been like when the club splashed out big on Anthony Martial in 2015. It's a bad sign when your club captain had never even heard of him, but still, at least he had 70 games of top-flight football to his name for the Man United fans to judge. Diallo, Christ above, you barely even have clips to form a YouTube video. Anyway, he's already scored twice for the Manchester United under-23s already. He could turn out like Cristiano Ronaldo, but he could also be the next Bebe. You know, the guy who was dragged in from a homeless shelter, given a home-cooked meal, and told to sit in the stands for 2 years. Who knows how Diallo's gonna do? RABBI MATONDO to Stoke. I don't get this. RABBI MATONDO was supposed to be on the same wavelength as Jadon Sancho, another exciting Man City Academy winger who quit the club for a move to the Bundesliga back in early 2019. A 20-year-old Welsh international tipped for big things, and yet the reality is he's just left Schalke bottom of the league, and the best move he can get is a loan move to Stoke. By comparison, Sancho is linked with £100 million moves to Champions League clubs, but Matondo is trying to get into a team past Tom Ince and James McLean. What happened, RABBI? Sebastian Haller to Ajax. This is just weird because nobody saw it coming. Yes, I realise Sebastian Haller was an overpriced £40 million flop for West Ham last season, but he finally looked to be coming good. While his expensive counterpart Joe Linton is continuing to look like an escape circus act with all the goal-scoring instincts of a crippled pigeon, Haller had 7 goals this season, including a bicycle kick that made most Hammers fans weak at the knees and drooling into their hand. So a bit weird to see West Ham cut their losses and just chuck him out the door to Ajax for 20 million quid. It's going well though. He's darkly contributed to 6 goals in his first 6 games, but let's be honest, the standard of defending in the Eredivisie is pretty much pigeon spunk. Andy Lonergan to West Brom. If you appoint Sam Allardyce to get you out of a relegation battle, you need to back him with transfer funds, otherwise what is the goddamn point? It's like telling Lewis Hamilton to win an F1 without a car. Yes, Robert Snodgrass was a decent acquisition, but Andy Lonergan on a freebie from Stoke, a 37-year-old journeyman goalie who spent the last 10 years picking his nose on the bench? Don't you tell me he won the league with Liverpool last season, don't you dare say that. Because trust me, he had about as much impact on that title win as a box of stale Cheerios. Charlie Austin to QPR. Maybe this wasn't that weird, but it was definitely sad. West Brom dumping a 31-year-old Charlie Austin back at QPR on loan. It just confirms it. The era of Charlie Austin is over. Because I remember 5 years ago when this guy was the most wanted man in the championship, being linked to the move away from QPR every 6 minutes. Good Christ, Alan Shearer was challenging him to break his goal scoring record at Newcastle. To be fair, that's a bit like if Mike Tyson challenged Jake Paul to win his world titles. The only belt that fella's capable of winning is one made out of plastic. Moussa Dembele to Atletico Madrid. Listen, I realise Moussa Dembele is a decent target man centre forward, and Atletico Madrid clearly wanted a cheap replacement for Diego Costa. But how on earth did they manage to convince Leon to accept a loan deal? How have they gotten away with just borrowing a centre forward who batted home nearly 30 goals last season? Just 18 months ago, Leon were rejecting £40 million bids from Chelsea, so now they're just giving him away as if he's just a handful of soggy custard creams. I don't get it. LUKA Jovic, Eintracht Frankfurt. Yeah, here's an example of a once promising centre forward who's taken a massive backward step in his career. 2 years ago, it looked unfathomable that Jovic would be spending 2021 at Eintracht Frankfurt. After exploding with nearly 30 goals that season, the man had the pick of Europe. If he just moved to Chelsea, good Christ, he'd still be there and getting paid £200,000 a week. But because he stupidly moved to Real Madrid, then no. He's since been binned back to Frankfurt on a loan deal. How did he ever think he was going to succeed in the biggest club on planet Earth? The fans weren't even excited by Eden Hazard, so how were they ever going to take to a former Benfica flop? Danny Drinkwater to Kasimpasa. Again, this is just sad. Danny Drinkwater is just 30 years of age. 4 years ago, he was lifting the Premier League title, getting himself stuffed in the England squad. Good Christ, he was playing better than Jordan Henderson back then, but because of his greedy decision to sit on Chelsea's bench and did his best effort to screw up both loan deals at Burnley and Aston Villa, now he's forced to settle for a random loan deal out in Turkey with Kasimpasa. This is a guy who once thought he could pick and choose when he could play for England. Yeah, good luck getting in the Euro squad now. Klaus-Jan Huntelaar to Schalke. This is the height of desperation. Listen, I know Klaus-Jan Huntelaar was a hero at Schalke for 7 years, but times have moved on. You're now stuck to the foot of the Bundesliga. So dragging in a nearly 30-year-old past centre forward from Ajax Alex's bench. If you're going to put off the Great Escape, you need young, hungry players. Not a fella approaching 40 who probably sweats when trying to climb the stairs in his house. ARKADIUSZ MILIK to Marseille. First glance, this is a transfer which will surprise a lot of people, because just a year ago, ARKADIUSZ MILIK was one of the most confident players in Napoli's books. The Polish striker was scoring 20 goals a season, linked with half the Premier League, even Juventus was sniffing around him. So now, the best his agent could drum up is a loan move to Marseille, to spend his peak years playing mid-table French football with DRINKWATER as his manager. Marseille are a club who have made a habit of making weird January signings in the past, but following in the footsteps of Stephen Fletcher, MILIK must surely want to chuck his agent in front of a bus. Matt Ryan to Arsenal. Yeah, I said it. Not one single person on planet Earth ever foresaw this one coming. How quickly can one man's career fall off a cliff? Good Christ, it took Joe Hart at least 3 years to come to terms with the fact that his stock had fallen into a ditch, and it's only recently that he's accepted just becoming a bench-warming goalie. Christ above, last season, a former England #1 being told to rot on Burnley's bench, he looked like he was going to cry. But Matt Ryan, just a year ago, he used to be hailed as one of the most underrated goalies in the league. Tim Cahill was practically getting ready to lick his toes in the shower. But now, he only lost his place in the Brighton team 1 week before Christmas. So instead of knuckling down and trying to win a spot back from a former Rochdale and Forest Green Rovers #1, he's prepared to just sit on Arsenal's bench for 6 months instead. Ryan, you are the Australian #1 goalie. It took Mark Schwarzer until he's 41 years of age to ever accept playing second fiddle on the bench. You, by contrast, are 28. What are you doing? Ficao Tomori to AC Milan. Alright, considering this modern day version of AC Milan have since signed Fabio Borini, I should no longer be surprised at any of their transfer business. Good Christ, they can stick Susan Boyle in a wig and chuck her in nets, and I still wouldn't be as weird as Borini at the San Siro. But listen, Ficao Tomori is a decent 23-year-old centre back, but I can't get my head around the fact that this fella's loan moves away from Stamford Bridge currently read Brighton, Hull City, Derby County and AC Milan. It's like spending your 20s picking up decrepit old ladies with bladder problems down the local bingo hall before you wind up marrying one of the Spice Girls. It doesn't really compute. Good Christ, he's gone from playing reserve football with Danny Drinkwater to now lining out alongside Zlatan Ibrahimovic in an historic San Siro title challenge. Just mental. Mario Mandzukic to AC Milan. How could a club like AC Milan be serious about reclaiming their place as Italian top dogs and still be making signings like this? Mario Mandzukic is yesterday's man. He's a gracious striker who's been finished ever since scoring an own goal in the World Cup final. Good Christ, he was spat out of Juventus 18 months ago, and since then he scored 2 goals in Qatar, where the defenders are about as mobile as fridge freezers, and that is it. That is Mandzukic's CV in nearly 2 years of life. Yes, Zlatan is still a world star, but at nearly 40, do you not want to stick younger legs around him? I'll just bring in a 34-year-old pensioner looking for one last fat payday. Mesut Ozil to Fenerbahce. This is just sad, it really is. Mesut Ozil is a generational talent, and I don't care. At the age of 32, he still has plenty left in the tank. Don't you tell me it's his age. He's 2 months younger than Willian, who nearly plays every week. And especially with his laid-back, energy-conserving, languid style of play, this guy doesn't exactly have tired kneecaps ready to fall off and do they? The fact he's 32 and being dumped out on a free transfer to Fenerbahce, with his job description being to lay on chances for a 35-year-old Papi Cisse. And a chewed-up piece of Villa rubbish like Moambana Samata. And Ener Valencia. Good Christ, it's that collection done for Premier League rejects. This guy used to assist Ronaldo every week. And so to cast a world champion like Ozil in with that bunch of unwanted misfits, it's about as disrespectful as chucking Brad Pitt onto an episode of The Undateables. Demarai Gray to Bayer Leverkusen. And finally, who saw this one coming? Anyone? Not a chance. I remember the day when Demarai Gray was seen as a priceless young talent at Leicester, rejecting £20 million bids from the likes of Bournemouth. But now at 24, this isn't even a loan deal. After 5 years at Leicester, he's just been binned off to Bayer Leverkusen on a permanent 18-month deal. And nobody seems to care. What happened, Gray? Ben Davies to Liverpool. Listen, if you were told 6 months ago that Liverpool were about to wrap up the mid-season signing of Ben Davies, you'd assume Andy Robertson had just broke his kneecap in 6 places. You'd assume Jose Mourinho had finally lost patience with the inconsistent Welsh left-back, with Sergio Reguilon's arrival shoving him in the same waste bin reserved for Danny Rose, a man destined to forever wait for a phone call from Milan. But no, even more surprising, it's a £2 million 25-year-old Preston centre half, a guy who's been at the club since 2006. I mean, what has happened? This is Liverpool's answer to Odin Gallo, a footballer of such a limited ability who's probably wetting his jocks at the thought of a move to such a big club, but who really has no right to even stand outside the stadium. This guy is a former York, Southport and Newport County defender with just 3 career goals to his name, so now being chucked into a title-winning squad? Just what? Anyway, that's the end of it. Let me know in the comment section below. What do you think were the weirdest transfers this winter window? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and as always, I'll talk to you in a while.